The story of Saint Martha of Bethany, faith, service, and courage. Saint Martha of Bethany is one of the most intriguing and moving characters in the New Testament. Known for her hospitality, her faith, and her close relationship with Jesus, Martha offers us a unique insight into love, service, and the human ability to face difficulties with courage. Though she is often associated only with the famous story of welcoming Jesus into her home, Martha's life is an example of how service and faith can intertwine to create a path to holiness. Through the Gospels, a complex and deeply human figure is revealed, inspiring believers across all ages. Martha lived in Bethany, a small village near Jerusalem, along with her siblings, Mary and Lazarus. The family of Bethany is remembered in the Bible as one of the closest to Jesus. On several occasions, Jesus stayed at Martha's house during his journeys to Jerusalem. It was a place of refuge, a home filled with love and hospitality. Martha, being the eldest of the three siblings, took on a maternal role, overseeing the organization and care of the household. She was a dedicated woman, practical, with a deep sense of responsibility towards her family. Martha's hospitality was legendary. When Jesus arrived at her home, Martha busied herself with serving him, ensuring he had everything he needed. In the Gospel of Luke, it is recounted how Martha was distracted by many tasks while her sister Mary sat at Jesus' feet, listening to his teachings. Martha, somewhat upset, asked Jesus to tell Mary to help her. Jesus, however, responded lovingly, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things, but only one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her." This response was not a rebuke but an invitation for Martha to recognize the importance of balancing service with contemplation. This episode in the house of Bethany shows us an important aspect of Martha's life: her constant concern for the well-being of others and her desire to serve generously. Often, it's easy to fall into the temptation of becoming too busy with daily tasks, forgetting the essential, which is God's presence in our lives. Martha's story invites us to find balance, to remember that both action and contemplation are necessary for a full spiritual life. One of the most powerful episodes in Martha's life is the resurrection of her brother Lazarus. This event, narrated in the Gospel of John, is one of the most significant and moving stories in the New Testament. When Lazarus fell ill, Martha and Mary sent a message to Jesus, asking him to come help their brother. However, Jesus did not arrive immediately, and Lazarus died. When Jesus finally reached Bethany, Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Martha, filled with grief, went out to meet him and said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." This statement reveals both her sorrow and her unwavering faith in Jesus. Jesus responded to Martha with one of the most powerful declarations in the Gospel: "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall he live." Despite her pain, Martha responded with an extraordinary confession of faith: "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world." It was then that Jesus, moved by the grief of Martha and Mary, asked for the stone to be removed from the tomb and called Lazarus forth, who came out alive. This miracle not only restored Lazarus' life but also strengthened the faith of Martha and all those who witnessed the event. The resurrection of Lazarus is a testimony to the transformative power of faith and hope. Martha, despite being deeply grieved by her brother's death, was able to approach Jesus and express both her pain and her faith. Her courage and her ability to trust Jesus, even in the darkest moments, serve as an example for all of us. The story shows that even when we face situations of hopelessness, faith in God can bring light and life where there was once only sadness and death. Martha is, above all, a symbol of Christian service. Unlike her sister Mary, who is remembered for her contemplative devotion, Martha represents the active aspect of faith, work, care, and dedication to others. In the Church, Martha has become the model for those who find their vocation in serving others, in concrete action. Her example reminds us that service is no less valuable than contemplation, and that both dimensions are necessary for a full life of faith. Martha's figure teaches us that service must always be infused with love and that we should not lose sight of what is essential while carrying out our daily tasks. Jesus did not disdain Martha's work, rather, he reminded her that while service is important, so too is nourishing the soul and paying attention to God's presence in our lives. Martha, with her capacity for work and her heart full of love, shows us how to live a balanced life, where both service and prayer have their place. Moreover, Martha's service was not limited to material actions. In her hospitality, there was a profound spiritual dimension. Martha not only opened the doors of her home to Jesus but also the doors of her heart. Her dedication to serving Jesus and his disciples was a way of expressing her love and devotion. This reminds us that serving others, when done with love and dedication, is also a way of encountering God. Martha's courage is clearly displayed in her encounter with Jesus after Lazarus' death. While many would have succumbed to grief and despair, Martha chose to go out and meet Jesus, even with a broken heart. Her ability to express both her sadness and her faith is an example of the close and authentic relationship she had with him. Martha did not hide her feelings, and in that act of sincerity, she found comfort and strength. Martha's confession of faith, "You are the Christ, the Son of God," is one of the most profound declarations in the entire New Testament. It demonstrates a faith that does not depend on circumstances but remains firm even amid pain and loss. This unshakable faith allowed Martha to witness one of the greatest miracles performed by Jesus. Martha teaches us that true faith is not the absence of doubt but the ability to stand firm and seek God, even in the most difficult moments. The story of Martha and Lazarus reminds us that true courage is not the absence of fear but the ability to act and seek God despite our doubts and fears. Martha faced the pain of losing her brother and yet had the strength to approach Jesus with faith. This attitude is an example of how, even in our own lives, we can find the courage to face difficulties and trust in God, knowing that He has a purpose for each of us. Saint Martha is remembered as the patroness of homemakers, cooks, and hosts, reflecting her life dedicated to service and hospitality. Her feast day is celebrated on July 29th, and her example continues to inspire those who find God in daily tasks and in caring for others. Her life reminds us that every act of service, no matter how small, can be an expression of divine love and a path to holiness. Martha's legacy also reflects the importance of community and hospitality in the Christian life. Her home in Bethany was a place of refuge for Jesus and his disciples, a space where they could rest and regain strength. This example of hospitality invites us to open our hearts and homes to others, to be a place of peace and comfort for those in need. Furthermore, Martha's legacy teaches us the importance of concrete action and service as an expression of faith. In a world that often values words more than deeds, Martha reminds us that true love is manifested in actions, in caring for others, and in the willingness to serve. Every time we serve others with love, we are following Martha's example and drawing closer to God. Martha's story cannot be fully understood without also speaking of her sister Mary. Martha and Mary represent two complementary paths in the Christian life, service and contemplation. While Martha was busy with household tasks, Mary sat at Jesus' feet to listen. At first glance, it might seem that Jesus favored Mary by saying she had chosen the better part. However, what Jesus was doing was inviting Martha to balance her life, to find time for both service and prayer. Martha and Mary show us that there is not just one path to holiness. Some are called to serve actively, while others find their vocation in contemplation and prayer. Both paths are valuable and necessary, and both bring us closer to God. The key is in finding balance, in recognizing that both service and contemplation are ways of expressing our love for God and for others. The story of Saint Martha of Bethany is a powerful lesson of faith, service, and courage. It is the story of a woman who, despite her worries and responsibilities, knew how to recognize the importance of God's presence in her life. Martha teaches us that service and action can be forms of prayer and that even in the midst of pain and uncertainty, we can find the strength to trust in God and His plan. Martha is a reminder that holiness is not always found in grand acts but in small actions performed with love. Her life is a testimony that serving others is a path to God and that through our dedication and work, we can become instruments of His love. Like Martha, we are all called to serve, to trust, and to find in every moment the opportunity to draw closer to God. Martha's figure remains relevant today, in a world often filled with distractions and worries. She reminds us of the importance of pausing, of finding time for prayer and reflection, and of balancing our responsibilities with our spiritual life. Through her story, Martha invites us to live with courage, to serve with love, and to trust fully in God, knowing that He is always with us, even in the darkest moments. Like Martha, we all face challenges and responsibilities in our daily lives. However, her example shows us that every task, no matter how small, can be an opportunity to serve God and others. Through service, we can find deeper purpose and draw closer to holiness. The story of Saint Martha of Bethany is an invitation to live a life of active faith, selfless service, and unwavering trust in God's love.